Okay, so I thought it'd be really interesting to do a video on what it means to be a good parent. This thought has actually been very intriguing to me, um, because what does it mean to be a good parent? Parent, and I would love to hear your perspective or insights into this question as well. What it means to be a good parent. Because for me, from my understanding and for my work with children and parents, is to be a good parent is to want to improve yourself. Want to improve yourself. And I'm not talking specifically about like discipline. How do you want to improve yourself with discipline? But I mean more internally, more inside. How can you improve yourself to improve your child's life? Now, what I mean by that is when we take a situation with our child, for instance, maybe we yelled or maybe we spanked or got frustrated and argued. How can we improve or do something different to understand more of where our children are coming from, validate their feelings more, validate our own feelings, and foster connection instead of disconnection? So for me, to answer that question, what does it mean to be a good parent? For me, it means to look for opportunities to connect with our children, to be that ear, that friendly ear for them, to hold space for their emotions, hold space for our own emotions. And, as I ask myself this question, and I'm really curious to see what you guys have on this take of what it means to be a good parent. And I think it goes a lot deeper than just being friendly or making sure they obey. Because honestly, I mean, you can try to make your child obey, but it might probably cause a lot of disconnection and contention between the both of you. And so how do you, instead of having so much disconnection between the both of you, how do you foster more connection? And that's a lot of it's to do with holding space for emotions for both people, for you as a parent and your child. What are they feeling? Because sometimes when we're angry or frustrated, don't we sometimes want someone to listen? Not even say anything, just listen to our frustrations, listen to us vent about it and get it out of our system. And I mean, talking and dealing with children is really no different than dealing with adults. They're just smaller. They're smaller, and I think on a degree we're all learning how to cope and manage our emotions. And so for me, being a good parent means holding space for your child's feelings, holding space for them to process their feelings, to get it out, and to be there and listen, and also teach them coping skills and independence. And initially, I think all of us want to be good parents. It'd be kind of weird if we didn't, right? We would give anything. We want to give everything to our children. We all want to be good parents. We're all, I think, in some degree, trying to be good parents. And I think that's where a lot of guilt comes in, when our expectations of being a good parent aren't met in certain situations. we yell at our kid, then we feel like we're such a bad person or such a bad mom or a bad dad, and that we're failures to our children. And so that can be really frustrating. Kind of feel like maybe we can't become the parents we wanted to be, or maybe we aren't good parents because we yell or spank or, whatever. But for me, parenting isn't about perfection. It's about progression. And in our lives and work and day to day, we're not sure, maybe our end goal is perfection. But instead of maybe putting so much focus on the expectations that are maybe not getting met, or our perfect ideal way of handling a situation with our kid, our children didn't go the way that we wanted it to go, to more focus on the progression side of things instead of perfection. I think perfection can still be there. I can think it could be something like set on the side, like, okay, here's perfection, here's progression. Okay, maybe our ultimate goal is for perfection, but we need to first progress in the smaller steps to ultimately reach that end goal. And so progression, what does that look like? What does progression look like? Does it mean staying calmer the next time your toddler throws a tantrum? Maybe it means taking a step back from the situation. You feel yourself getting heated in the heat of the moment in an argument with your teenager or maybe your spouse, and taking a step back instead of reacting, choosing to respond rather than react to what we're feeling, and responding in ways of, I need to take a break right now, or we can talk about this later. I'm feeling really frustrated right now and I would like a chance to calm down and we can continue this conversation. As we model that amount of self-control, emotional control, we're also modeling it for our children. And again, I think that's what it means to be what a good parent, what it means to be a good parent, is being that type of model. Because we're mirrors for our children. They do, say, act how we do, say, and act. And, if you want respect from our children, then we also need to show them respect. If we want them to listen, we need to listen. If we want them to yell less, we need to yell less. And that's what I truly think it means to be a good parent. To be a good parent is to progress, to find things you want to progress and do better at the next time. And have some self-empathy towards ourselves. Have some grace towards ourselves. We might have messed up, we might have yelled at our child, and acknowledge, shoot, I yelled. Okay, next time I'm going to handle this situation better so that we can be better prepared. That's another thing. I think what it means to be a good parent is to also be prepared. Prepare for the unexpected as much as you can be. Of course, again, it's not about perfection. It's about progression. And taking the next step to handle it better. And also working on ourselves as parents. A lot of the times we actually, from a situation with our child, when we're triggered or we're frustrated or angry towards our child in that moment, we parent from how we were once parented. Now, maybe you came from a abusive parenting situation, your parents were abusive, or and you vowed, I'm never going to spank my child, I'm never going to yell, or you might not handle it to the amount of degree maybe your parents handled it amongst you, but there's still a little something there. Maybe there was a lot of blame and shame in your childhood. So when you feel that kind of situation or tension arising, you resort to blame and shame. Maybe subconsciously, you know, you might not even be aware of it. A lot of us, we're not aware that we're doing something or unintentionally hurting something until someone tells us. So again, working on ourselves. That's also what it means to be a good parent. Working on our own triggers, our own emotions, processing them so that we can be able to hold that space for our children, because we remain in emotional control while they're out of control in this situation or whatever it is, so that we can be that model of emotional control, so that we can be present to help them process the situation. Now, I want to mention here that, and I kind of want to rewind a little bit and mention that there are 3 areas of the brain, and I like to label them lower, middle, and higher brain. Now, the lower brain is like the flight, fright, and freeze. That's the most developed in newborns, because that's their instinct of survival, is that lower brain, kind of like where the brainstem is back here. That's the most developed at birth in babies, and it's to ensure survival. So it's kind of like a no duh. That's kind of why that's the most developed at birth, because that's the baby's goal. The baby's goal is to ensure survival. Next is the middle area of the brain. The middle area of the brain is for where a lot of emotions reside and hang out. And so that area, children live in that area until about 7 years old. Okay, so they live in that emotional area of the brain. The higher brain is where logic, reasoning, understanding, compassion, empathy, problem solving all reside. Okay, and now a human brain isn't fully developed by the time they're 25 years old. And so children, when they're in the heat of the moment, they are processing information from the middle area of their brain. That's why children seem so emotional a lot of the times, because they are in that middle area of their brain. And when they're in this middle area of the brain, their higher brain shuts down. Okay, it shuts down. It can't turn on. It's like a light switch. You know, I turn off a light, and that's like emotions coming out for children. And even adults, even when we're triggered in situations with our children, we also resort to our middle brain. And that's kind of where the 2 heads butt together, is because our children are acting out of their emotional brain, and then we're acting out of our emotional brain. And that's where a lot of disconnection and contention and resentment and frustration and anger can come from towards one another. And so how to help children open up this higher brain is help them calm down. That higher brain doesn't open up its doors again until the person, the child, the parent has fully calmed down, has taken a deep breath about the situation, so that they can jump back up to that higher brain and look at the situation with more logic and reasoning, instead of frustration and anger. And so, you know, part of being a good parent is to be able to remain calm ourselves, so that we can still have access to our higher brain, so that when our children live and operate, because that's what they do, till the about age of 7, they're living in that middle area of the brain, the emotional side of the brain. So when they're having an emotional situation, we can remain in our higher brain and help them process and help them calm down, so that they can too open up that higher area of the brain, and so that we can both come to a situation with logic and problem solving, connection, empathy, and understanding, instead of anger and frustration. And so for me, those are kind of the characteristics of what it means to be a good parent. And I mean, there's lots out there, and I could go on and on and on, but this would turn into like a 3-hour video. And so again, I would love to hear what you guys think, or what your guys' perspective or understanding of what it means to be a good parent. It'd be really interesting to see. So I hope you guys liked today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.